Alright, MrSotko here, and welcome back to another Warcraft 3 replay cast. Today it's a 1 vs 1 on Amazonia between our red undead player, Insuperable, and up top we have our blue Night Elf player, Grubby, which is interesting because you never really see him play anything other than Orc, except for on his streams. Sometimes on his streams you see him play other races, but I have some replays of him playing as undead, and I'm not sure if I have casted him playing Night Elf or not, but I definitely have casted him playing undead. I think I might have one, maybe one. But this is sort of a recontinuation of the Grubby save pack that I have developed. And including this one, I believe I have 7 more left. This is a relatively short replay, and on some of the really short replays that I have of his, I will probably upload a bonus replay, or at least I'll try to. I actually start a new job here pretty soon. That'll take up a little bit more of my time, but I still definitely plan on casting Warcraft 3. No reason to stop, really. And Gloves of Haste for Grubby's Warden. On the bottom, Insuperable gets the Death Knight, of course, and takes down the Renegade Wizard Camp, gets a Circlet of Nobility. So 2 pretty good starting items for both characters here. And looks like a Manual of Health under there for the Death Knight. And gonna skip the Manual of Health or get it, one of the two. And now the Rogue Camp for Grubby here. And we'll see what drops from the Rogue. Gauntlets of Ogre Strength, and will likely be sold. And it's not going to help the Warden out all that much. 75 health, which is pretty good, but otherwise not going to be all that useful. And we'll sip some moon juice here, likely, or prove me wrong. But sooner or later, I called it. And if he does at any time point through this game, that means I called it, and everything's okay.
I stand ready.
Ghouls getting pretty low here. We'll use some archers to take them out, or they will attack random units. And Grubby playing a little questionable right now, as I think one of those ghouls at the very least could have been taken out by the archers. But I'm sure it is all easier said than done. Archer needs to GG meld, and doesn't, but stays alive regardless.
Your building is complete.
And Halls of the Dead coming up, and additional ghouls on the way. Looks like a ziggurat needs to be created there. Manual of Health left on the ground. That makes me a sad panda. Gauntlets of Ogre Strength were sold by the Warden.
Warriors have engaged the enemy.
And now Archer's in a little bit of trouble here. Going to dispel there. Explode on the skeletons. And Archer going to Shadow Meld, but Dust of Appearance will finish off the Archer regardless. And Grubby going to lose a lot of Archers here. And cool start against Night Elf. Fairly good.
Great finish.
Because you kind of have to start with archers. I suppose you can go right to huntresses, but then you could just easily transition to spiders, which are pretty good against huntresses. Interestingly enough, they sort of counter each other, but the damage of the spider against unarmored is unequivocally large. And Nagasiwa's now out for Insuperable, and Grubby counters with a Brewmaster. However, those cold arrows going to cause a lot of damage on the Warden, and now the Brewmaster will be subject to them. And Brewmaster running for his life while Warden will try and chase down a ghoul, and oh, gets caught up on a frog of all things, as if you couldn't physically step over that. And body blocks a little bit there with a wisp. And now Grubby in a little bit of trouble. He teched a little too early. And with the ghoul rush, he's in trouble now. And trying to get an Ancient Protector up. Gonna have to cancel that as well. And waiting for the Ancient Allure to come up. And now the Brewmaster in big, big trouble here. Warden trying to chase down individual ghouls. While the Brewmaster not gonna make it. Will take out a ghoul before he dies at least.
Our champion has fallen.
And now the Sea Witch in a bit of trouble, but there is a Death Coil. And it will go out on... No, it hits the Warden. And does not keep his Naga alive. So there was a mistake by Insuperable. And who probably meant to Death Coil that Naga Sea Witch. Or no, excuse me, can't Death Coil a Naga Sea Witch. I have no idea why I'm trying to say that you could not Death Coil a Naga Sea Witch. But so he did try to just hit Grubby intentionally. But of course it wasn't enough to stop the Warden at the time, so loses that Naga Sea Witch. Oh man, I don't. One of those days, I guess. Death Coil the Naga Sea Witch. Got a healer, Insuperable. What are you doing? Oh my. And Ancient Award getting the Tide Runners nice and tenderized for the Brewmaster to come along and finish them off. And for anybody that doesn't know, if you finish off a creep with an Ancient War, it's considered a building. And you don't get the experience for it, just like if you have towers in your base and the towers are actually killing units or heroes, you actually don't get the experience for that. So that is something you definitely want to avoid. Goblin Laboratory purchased of the Goblin Shredder, and Super's army is huge. And I suppose that's kind of an illusion because ghouls are pretty weak overall, but so far have been doing the job quite well against Grubby here. And pretty well played by Insuperable so far. And now with a Goblin Shredder out, that's going to be really hard to take care of, as a Goblin Shredder is a very powerful early melee unit. So get the 34 to 61 damage, I believe, is pretty much the equivalent of a Tauren. And its health, of course, much lower. But it's basically, in a nutshell, like a knight with a slightly health deficit. And Shadow Strike blasted directly in the face of the Death Knight. And did some damage there. Grubby on the back burner the whole game, now struggling. And another Ancient Award would probably be the time to build this, as he has a quick moment. But he's probably very low on resources with having to simply build units over and over. And indeed, yeah, only 76 gold for Grubby at the moment. And Warden, not a smart move, 52 mana, and will take the items. Will Town Portal out, though, but not sure what... I mean, Grubby did steal the items, which was looks like Gauntlets of Ogre Strength, and I think was a Tome of Intelligence. I can't remember. It was pretty quick. Actually has a second of HLO over here, so that's not too bad there. And we'll get Claw Adept training here. And it actually probably would have been in Grubby's best interest to keep the Gauntlets of Ogre Strength. He did sell them. He did really, really need that money. But 75 health, not too bad. And considering if he would have kept it, he would have had second Gauntlets of Ogre Strength, would be 150 additional health, which can really go a long way. And Brewmaster now level 2. But it looks like Brewmaster about to be in trouble here. Uses Potion of Invisibility, and that will invis on out of there. If that's a phrase, I think that's a phrase, invis on out of there. If not, I just made that up. And you guys can all quote me with that. That's going to go viral. And And Warden taking a bunch of heat there, but Staff of Preservation spins around out of there. And I wish I could have said Invisdoron out of there, but nope. Just kind of a teleport situation. I know, guys. You wanted it pretty bad, but just can't lie, you know? Tome of Agility +2. Also gonna get left behind by Insuperable, who cares not for tomes. Which, in all honesty, they really pretty much never win you or lose you the game. Tomes of Experience, of course, being a big exception to that. And I do enjoy the occasional Tome of Knowledge. That is always a great tome to have. +1 to all stats. Sure, why not? No inventory space, and +1 to all stats. I'm fine with that. So Whisk coming up here to defend the Moonwells. And Grubby is just not doing too hot this game. And I've seen him play Night Elf before on his stream. I don't watch the stream a lot. Actually, I'm actually not on Twitch a lot. Sometimes I stream, but I'm just not on Twitch a lot. It's just, I guess it's just not my thing. I'm not sure. There's nothing really wrong with it. I can see why people would like it. I do watch it from time to time, especially like ESL kind of things or major tournaments. So I'm actually following Grubby on Twitch, and I've seen him stream, so I've seen him play Night Elf, and I've seen him play much better than this, but with the start, he just kind of got all goofy-footed, and he just simply can't catch his balance here, and all of these spiders against Dryads is just a terrible, terrible choice to have all these Dryads, and wow, that was close. 19 health on the Warden, and the Crypt Fiends do terrifyingly large damage to Dryads. 26 to 31 damage, and additional to the unarmored Dryads.
Our champion has fallen.
And Grubby will have to GG out. Pretty sudden game over, but it definitely was over for Grubby. Well played by Insuperable. Well played indeed. Grubby did make a few glaring mistakes in that, and just simply let himself get overwhelmed by ghouls. But I hope you guys enjoyed this replay. A rather short one, but there are plenty more to come. I'm sort of doing a casting day where I'm going to be doing at least a few replays. They're rather short ones, so it's not too big of a deal. But if I cast you a really, really short one, because I know I have one that's like 7 minutes and one that's 9 minutes, I'll probably try to put a bonus replay on there. I'm not sure if I'm going to have time. Like I said, starting to do a job. You know, life gets in the way of games and stuff. But I hope you guys enjoyed this replay. And as usual, see you guys next time.